Today, so I wanted to talk to you about the importance of sleep, especially in children in their developmental years. And I think it makes a huge difference in the way they perform in their school life and in their daily lives. So I wanted to ask you, since you're a teacher with so much experience, do you think sleep is important for children in their academics?
Very important. I recommend that students should sleep for at least 8 hours. And if you are a teenager, 18, 19 years, 6 hours is good enough. But for a school going student, 8 hours of sleep is highly recommended. What happens is, your mind starts working when you're sleeping. So whatever you studied throughout the day, the data you've taken in, okay, that starts getting assimilated and processed while you're sleeping. So if you're sleep deprived, then it's very difficult to produce it back for the exam the next day. Also, on a normal routine day, it affects your reception and your learning.
That's absolutely right, sir. When you look at a child, how can you tell that, okay, this child came into the classroom today and hasn't slept and he looked so tired? Because more often, children these days are doing all-nighters before exams. It's a very common thing, especially in children who give exams.
Correct.
Competitive exams. In India especially, we just had our board exams.
Right.
And they were on caffeine all night. And so when you look at a child, how can you tell that, okay, this child is tired?
What I've noticed in my experience is that students who are sleep deprived generally they'll be low on energy, puffy eyes, they feel groggy throughout the day, they'll be quite inattentive in class, and they're not able to focus. So even while you're teaching and you're questioning them, they're not able to answer back very effectively. And also, during a classroom session, we have, periods where we make them learn things in the middle of the class, like math formulas or certain important definitions and certain pointers you want them to remember. So students who are sleep deprived normally are not very active to respond back. And it's very easy for a teacher to identify that the student is sleep deprived.
What I have noticed is people who tend to have procrastination issues don't study throughout the term, don't have a slow process, and they feel a night before an exam they can stay up all night and they study and they feel all confident and they go into the exam and that's it, they're fully blank and they're not able to recall some of their concepts. So someone who's had an experience with memory as well, what do you think about memory, recall and sleep when it comes to students?
Wow, that's a nice interesting question, Nandini. One should remember that Rome was never built in a day. What you memorize, okay, if you have to recall the next day, you may remember 80%. So as the days go by, the retention goes on reducing. It's as simple as this. You watch a 2-hour movie, and if you come and narrate a story to a friend after the movie, you may even take 25-30 minutes to narrate the whole movie. But the same movie has to be narrated after 1 week or 15 days. You finish the narration in just about 5 minutes, 3 minutes. Why? Because you've not been able to retain enough. Now, if you have to retain that movie for a longer period of time, it means you have to go on watching and viewing it again and again. So the same thing goes with studying. So if you are studying something, if you have to revise it the next day or after 3-4 days, your retention increases. Now, students who believe that, I can study one day prior to exam and I can do it, it may work for lower standards, but doesn't work for higher standards, And the students, normally, when you interview people who have topped exams and you ask them, they will always try to be humble and they say, I just began studying 1 month prior and I did it. Believe me, that's not the true story. They have been studying regularly and religiously, and that's how the academic performance excels.
For children who are giving their exams, what would you recommend their routine looks like?
Wow.
So I have personally noticed that most children who are giving exams, they think focus and hard work means that they have no other extracurricular activities. It means that they are cutting down on their sleeping timetables. So they may think that, okay, I'm going to wake up at 4 a.m. and work so hard. But what most people don't realize is that their brain is slowly getting tired. So what they're actually spending so many hours learning, they're not actually retaining it.
Correct.
All because of a simple thing like sleep.
Wow. Now see, one, I recommend 8 hours of sleep, which is important. 2, either you're a late night sitter or you are, early morning. Now, this may work differently for individuals. I personally recommend that a person, hits off the bed by about 11 o'clock, gets up in the morning at about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. So you have your 8 hours of sleep. Now, if you think that you can sit up till 2 o'clock and study, and you get up early in the morning and then you catch up back for the afternoon sleep, it doesn't work. Night sleep is the best form of sleep to increase your retention and learning power. Now, if you deprive yourself of night sleep, then you're depriving yourself of deep and strong learning. So, night sleep is important. You cannot study a day prior to any exam. You have to be studying much in advance. Early morning should be used for regular revision. Revision does not mean studying all over again. It means, you have a certain pointers and you're recalling those pointers, okay, just to make sure that you remember things very well.
To add on to what you're saying, sir, many children and many working adults as well have this idea of catching up on sleep.
Yeah.
I've been looking at a lot of research studies,
Right.
and there is no such thing as catching up on sleep.
Correct. Yes.
Of course, you can sleep longer later and
Yeah.
give your body the rest that it needs.
Yes.
But there is no such thing as I'm going to exert myself during the day and catch up on the weekend.
Yes.
We may not see it now,
Yeah.
especially in young children.
Correct.
But as you grow older, these may translate into diseases such as diabetes,
Yeah.
heart problems.
Anxiety, depression, so many more things,
Definitely. It's very interesting that you touched upon mental health. You used the word anxiety and depression. So, do you notice that school-going children giving exam, who are not sleeping and who are very severely stressed, do you notice depressive symptoms? Do you notice exam anxiety? As a teacher, what would you say children do to deal with this, and how would you guide them?
Very good. What I recommend is physical activity.
Yes.
Students must spend at least an hour or two on some kind of physical activity. So that's where games come into play. If they are not having enough time to play a sport, cycling, running is recommended. Sleep, of course, as you mentioned earlier. Now, students, keeping in mind their routine life, their school, their extra tuitions and extracurricular activities, must plan in such a manner that there is enough scope for games. When students play games, those good hormones are released, which help you studying far better, learning far better, better retention, and then better reproducing in the exam as well. So games are very important. If they can have, to relax their mind, some kind of light music, it works. But music should not be something which, makes you very energetic. It should be something what calms and soothes you down. So I recommend music, simple music, games. Food plays a very important role. If you're overstuffed, it's very difficult to learn. You're overstuffed, it'll again trigger sleep at a wrong time. So what I recommend is that when you are hitting the bed, especially during examination time, you take a lighter meal, which is lighter on your stomach.
Most children who come back tired from school think that it's great to take a quick nap or squeeze in a quick nap before they continue studying. So most children, especially in India, their schedules end about 4:30, and they're sort of having a nap around 4:30 to 5 in the evening, which in my opinion completely disrupts the quality of sleep they're having later in the night. I think that a nap should not be more than 20 minutes.
Correct.
And it should be somewhere between 12 to 1:30 or 2.
Correct. Because at 4:30 to 5:30 is a peak productive period.
That's right.
So that should be capitalized for learning. That can also be used for playing.
Yeah.
But definitely not for sleeping. Sleeping can be around 1:30, 2 o'clock. And as Nandini says, 20 minutes max is enough. You don't need an hour or 2 hours of sleep in the afternoon. That's just to relax your body.
Yeah, and that's for children, and for adults and working professionals, it's actually been recommended to, if it's possible, to skip any sort of daytime sleeping to have a better quality of sleep at night.
Perfect.
In India, we have this sort of culture that it's good to sort of go into a deep sleep after having lunch.
Afternoon siestas.
Yeah. And most people who sort of have that habit, I've noticed, are tossing and turning at night.
Yes.
And then they go on their phone and then they wake up tired and they can't wait to go to sleep in the afternoon after lunch.
A lot of students know if they don't get their sleep at night, they're so used to scrolling on reels and being on social media. So that, disrupts the entire sleep cycle. And these students, see when you're seeing your screen time, your reels, it plays on into your subconscious mind when you're going off to sleep. And it is not a good deep sound sleep.
Social media is something that is very relevant in our day and age.
Correct.
I believe that social media can be very useful,
Yes.
like just what we're doing right now. We're using that very platform to spread awareness.
Correct.
But I also think that too much of anything is not good. And especially timings is what I feel is very important as well. Do you think it's beneficial for education, or do you think it's acting as a barrier for their learning and their timings in teenagers?
This is a very debatable question, and everybody may have a very different viewpoint. Well, what I personally feel is social media is important because today we are in an era where we connect with people through social platforms. So that's very important. As you mentioned earlier, anything of an overdose is harmful. So one, you have to limit your social media usage during the day. Two, avoid using social media when you're about to hit the bed. Avoid using social media when you have your peak working prime time, when your mind is more receptive. So if you follow on these rules, you follow certain discipline in using social media, it can work in your favor. Social media can also be used as a learning tool.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, seeing such podcasts. Also, a lot of study data is available on social media, which is very beneficial to students. So it can be used in your favor.
We definitely have a generation gap between us. I want to know, from a teacher's point of view, in your 35 years of experience, how it was 35 years ago and now, and how children perceive social media, and why do you think that it's now that we're so hooked onto it to a point where it's affecting their sleeping schedules?
See, anything that is new that comes, there's a lot of crave for that in the market.
Yeah.
And this crave would last for a period. That period could be a decade or two or more. I don't feel that there is a gap between the Gen Zs and the Gen X. In fact, there is a bridge. Okay. Now, this bridge has to be used very effectively. What happened was, we were the ones who were slowly, this social media just came into picture at our times. And you all were born in that era. What should have been done was, in the beginning itself, if there was disciplining of social media at that time, effective use, today we would have been able to use social media and all these other platforms in favor of your generation. That discipline was lacking in the beginning. Now, because it was lacking, it has been misused. For a lot of resistance, some of the people in our generation, anything new is always resisted. So I feel, we offer a lot of resistance to the use of social media, and not everybody got very compatible and very comfortable with it. But since your generation was born into it, parents also found it very easy to discipline kids using iPads, mobiles, and those kind of things. Because see, colors, everything in social media, the way it presents, it's very glamorous, it's very impressive, and it's very appealing. So it lures you more and more to it. And kids like colors, they like vibrance and stuff like that. So I feel if there was a little discipline there, it would have been really better. But well, it didn't. So now onwards, if the next generation of parents which are coming up, the Gen Alpha, Beta, what will come up, I think parents are already aware that there has to be some kind of discipline. So if they inculcate strong discipline rules in terms of usage of this and how it can work in your favor, I think the next generation will not be facing so much of a problem in terms of misuse of social media, is what I feel.
That's definitely true, sir. And just the other day, I was visiting this beautiful non-profit organization called Sampar.
Okay.
I think they're doing brilliant work. And what one of the psychologists over there said that children don't have access to phones in Sampar. They do have is a computer lab.
Okay.
So in the computer lab, children have safe browsing opportunities where someone's present there and they're overlooking what children are accessing. And what was found is that later on, when these children pass out, they've become adults and they're going on to a phase in their life where they're giving competitive exams.
Okay.
They sort of asked questions like, oh, how are you able to afford coaching? And they say, no, ma'am, you've taught us how to do this all these years on YouTube. So if children are actually encouraged to use social media the right way,
Correct.
it's so beneficial because they're saving thousands on coaching costs.
Oh.
Everything is accessible on YouTube, but you need to use YouTube for the right thing.
Correct. Correct.
So that's what I
And that can be brought only by parents and teachers and responsible people in the country.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you one more thing, sir. A lot of children, when you mentioned anxiety, stress, and depression, apart from parents who they spend all day with, another set of people that they spend almost 8 hours a day is with their teachers. From
Correct.
8:30 in the morning to 3:30 in the evening, they're with their teachers, and sometimes even later for after school tuition.
Yes.
So it's a huge responsibility in terms of how they pursue life. What they see is mentorship is perceived by how they look at their teachers.
Correct.
How do you feel as a teacher you are emotionally available to students in a way that's not just academic in order to inspire them in building good routines
Okay.
and managing stress
Uh-huh.
and also highlighting the fact that it's okay to feel stressed, it's okay to feel anxious without necessarily disregarding how they're feeling?
Wow. So, I handle mathematics. That's my core subject. And students normally fear the subject a lot. So, what I do is one, I make them like me as a person first. So, once they like me, I transfer their liking to the subject mathematics. So, they start liking the subject mathematics. One. Two, they generally tell me they're very worried, scared, and fearful about maths. I always feel that this fear is good fear. Because only when you're fearful, you're really worried about something, that keeps you going. If you have an attitude, oh, I'm not worried about it, then you won't put your efforts at all in it. Okay. Two, students as they're growing, they go through a lot of emotional issues and things like that. Because if parents are working, they may not be available all the time. Two, parents are unable to be friends with their kids. They are more the nagging, the lecturing type, and that's what children don't like. So when they come under a teacher, and if they find a teacher who is able to accept them the way they are, who is able to listen to their problems, okay, then that's where mentoring starts. So I personally experience that when they start liking me and they start liking my subject, they start opening up. They tell us about the fears, and I'm sure most teachers around the world, okay, since they're teachers, they do give that extra support system in talking to the students and understanding their problems and guiding them, motivating them. It's just that, if you didn't get a right guide or right teacher, you've been unfortunate. Okay, I don't think teachers are bad. The situation may not be right at that moment. But by and large, all teachers do mentor, and I enjoy mentoring my kids. I enjoy connecting with them. I enjoy listening to their stories. I feel very happy, to know the way they start doing well. And if somebody who found something very challenging and has started being good in that, oh my God, it really motivates me to do much, 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 much better for the others, Students have always kept me young. They've never let me grow older. Sometimes people ask me, ki bhai, aapka raaz kya hai? You are so young. It's 34, 35 years of experience. People say, are you that old? So I say, people will say love effect, and I'll say it's a student's effect. It's my students who keep me always young and very energetic all through.
That's so beautiful that you think that way, sir, because it takes a lot of passion to contribute so much towards this field and feel so deeply about students wanting to grow. And I wanted to touch upon one last thing.
Yes.
What does it mean to be a memory coach? You said you were a memory coach.
Yes.
The Indian education system is mostly based on memorization.
Correct.
It has a lot of emphasis on recalling concepts.
Correct.
And being able to write a lot of heavy matters in a span of a few hours. That's how our examination works.
Correct.
So memory is something that's extremely important to Indian students. So what does it mean to be a memory coach?
Yes. So I have been associated with this organization called as Growth Vidyapeeth. The founder member is Mr. Ratesh Sa, and other coaches are Mr. Bhuvan Dhanesha, Urvi Dhanesha, Kimi ma'am, and those people. Now here, this memory technique is basically based on association.
Right.
We train students how to remember 20 words, 40 words in a span of 90 minutes, in a span of 180 minutes. Okay, you give us words and we'll be able to recall back in just about 90 minutes and give you back either in the same order, reverse order, or any order. With this technique, we can also memorize, 100 digits, 50 digits, okay, in a span of about, again, 120 minutes or less or more, depending how strong coach you are. Now, by learning these techniques, okay, you are able to apply this in memorizing your long answers, short answers, periodic table, entire periodic table, then even your math formula, then physics concepts, even memorizing big passages, so now definitions have to go just the way they are in the textbook. So it helps you to, improve on those areas, and you're able to reproduce them exactly the way it is given in the book. And since, as you mentioned, all our exams in India are memory based, that's where, this technique, sharpens your mind, your skills, and helps you to perform optimally in an exam.
Correct.
So it's a technique, it's a science. So once you learn this technique, you apply it to your routine of studies, it definitely 110% brings improvement in your academic output, scholastic performance.
That definitely seems like a very powerful tool.
110%.
And-
I strongly recommend that students must take up memory coaching to enhance their performance in exam.
Yeah, I think it's powerful what you said about memory, but I don't think any of this is possible without sleep. And a good night's sleep is definitely essential for memory and recall.
Yes.
No matter how many coaching centers you go to, no matter how many hours you spend studying, if you don't have a good night's sleep, you almost will find it impossible to learn all that, Sadhu.
I 100% agree with this, Nandini.
Thank you so much for your time today, sir. I'm so grateful that you took your time here to be with us and talk to us about your experience. I think teachers like you is what creates future generations of confident kids.
Thank you
And
so much.
thank you so much, sir.
I really enjoyed being here, Nandini. It was fantastic, a wonderful experience. I felt really glad that I shared most of my experience and inputs about how to develop a student, to perform better on this platform. And thanks for giving this opportunity to me. Yeah. Bye. Thanks. Good luck, guys. Take care.